Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Michi Makes Up. I have some of SUQQU's pre-holiday 2021 collection with me here. These arrived last week and these arrived in the city about a week ago, but I gave them the wrong address and it was like one number off, and so I had to reroute this package and it went kind of all the way around. So eventually I did manage to get the package. It's finally here. So I'm really excited about these items, and they are currently available at Selfridges, Harrods, and Liberty London. And I think Cult Beauty also will carry some of these items as well. But as we know, especially with their quads, they sell it really quickly, and they'll come back in stock and then they'll sell it really quickly. So my recommendation is, if you're really interested in the quads, bookmark these websites and take a look at them. If I catch them and see them in stock, I will share them on Instagram in my story or something, get that information over to you guys. I'll try my best. But the good news is, of the 3 items that I have today, the compact blush, and it is called SUQQU Powder Blush Compact 103. This is in stock. I can confirm this is in stock in many of the major retailers that does stock SUQQU in Europe. So if you like this, you like what you see, I'll demo some of the shades here. This is available and you can get this today. So that's the good news. For the 2 quads, I have here 108 Izanaizuki. Very pretty. Does remind me of a non-limited editional quad that I have. I'll do some comparisons in a bit here. And then also 109 Fuyushizuku. And both are beautiful. They look prettier in person, just because you can appreciate the glitter, you can see it better. And even this shade here has some, metallic shimmer finish to it that is just more eye-catching in person. But what's also notable too is these quads, the sparkly laminate. It's not on the blush compact, even though it's part of the pre-holiday collection, but I thought this was an interesting touch. And to show you, this is what a regular SUQQU compact, like for a quad, looks like. So it's just a glossy black finish. So this one has the glitter laminate. What I'm going to do is we'll do swatches. I will take each of the quads, create a look on each of the eyes so you guys can see this. And then we will play around with the shades here. There are 2 highlighters. These are blushes, although this shade I may be able to use as a bronzer. We'll test it out. I might come back with another video just to create an eye look and also blush and highlighter, because these shades you can definitely use, well, actually any of these shades you can use on your eyelids as well. And I got this idea from Tavia, actually, over at Chic Profile. She's on Instagram, and she always has the latest on luxury makeup, and she says that these blush compacts are probably one of the most underrated items from SUQQU, because they're very versatile. You can use them on your eyes. And unlike the pure color blushes that SUQQU has, these tend to be more pigmented. So I did swatch just this one here. You can see it is more pigmented than what we've come to expect from their pure color blushes. So we'll see if that's the case, but I have a feeling it certainly is. And then I also have one of the 2 blush compacts that they released last year. This is 102. And when I saw 103, the photos, I thought, boy, these shades are probably not the same as Compact 101 and 102 from last year, but boy, they do remind me of those other compacts. And we'll do some swatch comparisons, because this shade here reminds me of this shade and the light highlighter, which is beautiful. It's one of my favorite shades from that 102 compact. Reminds me of this one. I know they're not going to be exactly the same, but it's so light that I feel like they're just interchangeable. Anyways, we will put it to the test and we'll see. So let's move on to the swatches. I'll start with the quad 108. So these are the 4 shades, and they're beautiful. This is a satin matte. This is a metallic finish. And then this has a glitter finish. Very pretty. 109. And this is the satin matte. This is the metallic. And the deepest shade with a glitter finish. Just gorgeous. Love the grays on both of the compacts. And then moving on to 103. We have the two highlights. This one has a golden cool tone, and this one has more of a peachy tone to it. I think they'll be beautiful on the skin. Wow, these are pigmented for blushes. This I will try to use as a bronzer. Beautiful berry colored blush. And I feel like this has, it's like terracotta, maybe a little bit burnt orange, and then finally the deepest shade here. I love to see some of these colors on deeper skin tones. So there it is. All right, let's get the demo started. We'll do comparisons at the end. Taking this shade and placing it all over the lids. And then taking this deep shade, putting that onto the upper lash line. And I'm not going all the way, just about halfway here. Blend this upwards. And then we're going to blend that out. And then we're getting into this metallic shade, starting with the inner corner and moving to the center of the lid. And then going back into the shade here, just adding a little bit more right here, and then I'm buffing this out. And taking the lightest shade, I'm placing that onto the brow bone, as well as the inner corner. And then I'm going back into the shade again and just applying it on the lower lash line. Moving on to the left eye, I'm taking this shade here and placing that all over the lid. I'm going to blend this shade out. Taking the deepest shade, we're adding that on top of the upper lash line. Flipping the brush over to the other side, going to just blend that towards the middle of the lid. And then taking this satin purple shade, I'm placing that onto the crease, just buffing any seams. I'm also taking the same shade and putting it onto the lower lash line. Then with a finger, going into this glitter shade here and placing that onto the center of the lid. And then taking two nuance eyeliners that I purchased from, I think it was either summer, pre-summer, something like that. These two shades here, I think you might still be able to get them. They just kind of come in and out of stock. But if you can't get these eyeliners, I am certain they will come back with similar shades in the future. And the reason why I want to use them is that I just really haven't talked about them too much on this channel. And I feel like even if you really like the shade and you can't get it because it's sold out everywhere, they might not bring the exact same thing back, but they'll always bring interesting colors. So I want to just play around, show you guys. If you are interested, you can be on the lookout. And so that next time when a collection releases with some sort of limited edition liner, you can like look into it and maybe reference this video or the information you get here to see if you want to get one of these. So I'm going to use 102, which is this kind of deeper shade here, like a brick red. Well, has a hint of purple. I'm going to put that on my right eye. And it is just the most subtle liner. If you're not up close, you can't really see it. But when you see it, it's interesting because it's not what you would expect. It's not a classic black or brown. So it's just something extra, an interesting detail. And for blush, we have a few colors to play with. I feel like this shade here matches what I did with the eye look on my left eye, so we're gonna go into this shade. And then for the right side, I really think this is too deep for a blush. So I think I'll go into this one here. Yeah, let's do that. For lips, I'm going to go with SUQQU's Sheer Matte Lipstick. You guys know how big of a fan I am of those lipsticks. They have this velvet matte finish to them, but they're not nearly as drying. They're just beautiful, and the whole set of colors they release for this launch is very fall, autumn appropriate, and it just hits the spot when you're looking for something suitable for fall. So I think we'll definitely find a shade that's good for both of these looks. Let me show you the options here. I have shade 05. And so this one has a strong kind of tangerine orange tone. That hint of brown. And we have 03, which is notably pink, but it's quite cool. And then 102, this is a limited edition shade and has more brown, much more of a terracotta tone to it. Then we have probably one of my favorite shades, 08. Very pretty. And then 103, and this is a limited edition shade as well, and I love this shade. Look at that brown. I wore this the other day and I was like, just really feeling that kind of coffee color. So I'm thinking, you know, the brown, I mean, either one, the brown would work. It's just like a mood. Or we could do something with more orange in it. Might go with this. Or we could go with this nice pink shade, which would kind of go with like this side of the cheek, probably both. Yeah, why don't we go with the 03, this shade. This is the finished look, and I love this shade. I love all of the shades that I got. If there was a good reason for me to go back and get the rest of them, I would. I totally would. While the shade is not totally complementary to either of the eye looks, I think it's closest to this blush here. It's fine, and I think it just speaks to how easy it is to work with these shades or use them, because they'll go with pretty much any look. And most of the time they'll even add to the look. They'll either give it a little bit more drama, a little bit more sophistication, or they just, you know, complement what you're trying to do. And it's just beautiful. The comfort level for a matte product is really very good. I wore it earlier this week during the evening for maybe 3-4 hours. At about 4 hours, I was just ready to either, you know, take it off completely and kind of end the night, or I could just kind of top off, like reapply or dab it off, put on some lip balm, and then reapply. But I think it speaks to just SUQQU's lipsticks are generally pretty comfortable, even for their matte products. And this is way more comfortable than any other matte lipstick that I have, with the exception of Chantecaille's matte Stilo. So anyways, I have so many good things to say about this. And they call it a sheer matte lipstick, but it's still very pigmented. And I mean, if you look close enough, my natural lip pigmentation, you know, does come through. And if you want more of a matte look, you can not wear lip balm, or wear lip balm, maybe dab some of it off, and then put this on top. You'll get even a more matte effect. So you can play around with that, but yeah, I just find them to be very comfortable for what they are. It's just the tone. I think the tone is probably my favorite, in addition to the comfort. So there it is. All right, let me get into the comparisons and then kind of summarize everything. So I'm first going to take a quad that reminds me of 08. So this is number 3, Hikarigure. This is not limited edition. And then the limited edition, we have 108, Izanaizuki. They're not the same, but you can see the similarities of what they're trying to do. These two shades and this glitter shade here, it's the same idea. So let's swatch and compare. So I have first, let's compare the kind of gold metallic. This is more golden, more yellow. This is more coppery in comparison. The light matte shade, which you can barely, you know, you can see it, but it's very light. And it's very similar. I mean, I would use this to buff out seams. The two are different. This has more red in it, and this is almost like, it's almost like beigey, just kind of skin-like. And then we have the deep shade, the deep brown. And it's not similar to, you know, this shade here. This is totally different, and it's much deeper than that. It's kind of like an in-between the two. Finally, for that glitter shade, it's right here. It's very light. There's barely any pigment. I think you can see the sparkle though. If you missed out on this quad and you're really interested, I would consider getting Hikarigure in its place. You can create something very similar. Very, very similar. The standout shade on the limited edition quad for me is going to be this, just because I don't have anything from SUQQU that's like that. And I do like that it is gray. It's a gray shade. Once it's on the lid though, it adds to the overall shimmer, or that kind of like lifted eye look, but it's not that obvious. Like the shade, once you blend it out, it's really not that obvious. And that's just SUQQU. It gives you a beautiful swatch or a wash of color, but no one shade is ever like overly pigmented or much more pigmented than the others. So that's just their kind of signature concept. And for Fuyushizuku, the quad that this reminds me of is another limited edition quad. It is 105 Yoisekisora. Not that similar. It's mostly just kind of these two shades that remind me of these two. And side by side you can see they're different, but they just kind of remind me of each other. So let me go ahead and do some swatches. So those are the two shades from the limited edition quad we just looked at. This is the matte purple shade. Let me add another application. They're similar. Same idea. And then for that glitter shade, again, not much pigment. It's kind of hard to see. It's kind of like this shade here. But it does kind of have this like cool blue undertone, almost like periwinkle. And the glitter is reflective of like pink and silver. Not quite the same as this one. This is much more gray in comparison. Although I do think the idea is similar. I will say this shade here is much more pigmented than the typical glitter shades that we see from SUQQU quads. And I think that's the standout. I think the glitter shades, these two, and even from 108, these are the standouts from the collection. It's because they're more pigmented. I think they're more interesting overall. I do like both of these quads, even though the color stories are like, give me deja vu. They give me a little bit of deja vu. I still like both of them, and I think the glitter shades do stand out. And then as for the compact, we're gonna do some comparisons. Now it looks like I'll have to do that on the other arm. So here it is, and I think this shade here is very similar to this one. It's not the same, but it just kind of serves the same purpose. I do like how the deeper shades really do differ, or they're different from each other. And this one here is a very, I can't use it as a highlighter, but I can use it as a blush, very light-handed. I think it's really beautiful. I want to put that on my lids. So we'll have to come back and really just apply these on the lids using both compacts. The highlighter from last year, or from 103, is more intense, like really metallic, than these two shades from 103 this year. And speaking of highlighter, I'm going to add these two shades on each side of the cheek. So let's start with this pale golden shade. That is beautiful. So on the right side, we have the pale golden shade. And then on the left side is the peachy highlight. They're beautiful. They're both beautiful. And I need to blend out that bronzer some more. We can't go out with the two lines like that. For the compacts, they are similar, but they're not the same. If I had to pick out a favorite shade from the compact, it's gonna be these two plus this highlight. And I love a pale golden highlight. If you ask me, I wouldn't know to tell you like, oh, that's, you know, that's my highlight. But having tried more highlights this year, it just looks really nice. I just like how it pairs with everything. Even though I don't think I can use the shade as blush, I mean, I will try it. I will try it the next time we pick up this palette, but I love how this looks. With a light hand, I think this could work. I had a bit of trouble blending this out. I think it just grabbed onto texture or even foundation that wasn't completely smooth over by my setting powder. And so I had to go back, you saw, with a different brush to just buff it out. And it looks fine now, but I think some of the matte blushes, and I had a similar experience with this palette too, is that they're so pigmented, but if they grab onto texture, you have to put in extra work to buff it out. So I do like the shades that have that metallic texture or finish to it. I think they're easier to work with. Both highlights are beautiful. My preference is going to be this one here. And then this as a bronzer, same thing. It's the same texture as this. You saw I had to go back in, and even now you can kind of see that line right there, and have to use a Q-tip to take that off or fix it. So beautiful with some caveats, and it was really how I felt about this compact from last year. And they're just way more pigmented than the typical pure color blush SUQQU has. And before we go, I just want to quickly go over to the website. We have 108 here, which is described as a gold and moon brown. Inspired by the Orioles of City Lights, this neutral eyeshadow palette comes with a delicate gold to bless the eyes with a sparkle. For 109, bronze and grayish mauve. This cool, smoky must-have quad is inspired by bright lights set against a silent winter night. That's cozy when I think about that. Autumn coziness. And then for Compact 103, the 4 blush pans range from understated neutral to deep mauve for a depth of looks, complemented with 2 highlighters for a world of illumination. And I use this as a bronzer, but it is supposed to be a blush, so just to clarify. Thank you guys for watching. I know some of you have been waiting for this collection and you have some of the items already. Let me know below what you think. If you watch all the way to the end, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified every time new content is released. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.